Okay, so you're into high-end watches. I get it. It's not just about telling time, right? It's about the craftsmanship, the history. It's like having a tiny engine on your wrist. And you mentioned being curious about those watches, the ones with really intricate mechanics and those cool backstories. Well, today we're diving deep into two Richard Mille watches that definitely fit the bill. The RM6501 McLaren and the RM1702 Titanium. Get ready for some serious horological eye candy.
What fascinates me about Richard Mille especially is how they've really captured this space where luxury watches intersect with, luxury everything. Supercars, high-tech materials, you name it. They don't just make watches, they're telling stories.
And the RM6501 McLaren, that one screams story right from the starting line. This watch is like the love child of a master watchmaker and a Formula One engineer. Picture this. Skeletonized movement so you can see all the gears and springs doing their thing with these pops of bright papaya orange. Totally McLaren, right?
Oh, absolutely. That orange is iconic. And you know that collaboration between watchmakers and car manufacturers, it's a real growing trend. It speaks to this desire for luxury that goes way beyond just one product. It's a whole lifestyle, a passion for precision, for performance.
Totally. It's like saying, hey, I appreciate the engineering genius in both my car and in my watch. And speaking of engineering genius, this watch boasts 36,000 vibrations per hour and a split seconds chronograph that measures time down to a tenth of a second. I mean, those are some serious stats. What does all that even mean in the watch world?
So those vibrations, think of it like a heartbeat. The faster the heartbeat, the more precise the timekeeping. 36,000 is crazy high frequency, right up there with some of the most accurate mechanical watches ever made.
Okay, so it's like having a tiny high-performance engine strapped to your wrist. I like it. What about that split seconds chronograph?
That's where things get really interesting. Essentially, it lets you time multiple events at the same time, like having two stopwatches in one. Imagine timing laps on a racetrack, and you can track each lap individually, but you're still timing the overall race at the same time. Incredible precision, and all packed into such a small space.
And we can't forget the exclusivity factor, right? They only made 500 of these beauties. Talk about a collector's dream.
Limited edition runs like that. It's like catnip to collectors. It's that allure of owning something rare, something most people will only ever dream of wearing. And that scarcity definitely plays into the value of these watches on the secondary market. They become like prized possessions, almost like owning a piece of horological history. They do. They really do. And, that limited edition aspect isn't the only thing that makes these watches so collectible. It's that connection to the world of racing, the McLaren legacy. It adds another layer to the story the watch tells.
It's like wearing a piece of racing history right there on your wrist. But our next watch, the RM1702 Titanium, it takes a different approach to luxury. If the RM6501 is all about speed and flash, this one's been described as having a subtle makeover. What comes to mind when you hear that?
Subtle makeover. To me, it suggests an emphasis on refined details, premium materials, and a certain understated elegance. It's about whispering, not shouting, about the quality and craftsmanship.
And speaking of premium materials, this watch features a grade 5 titanium case. What's the story with titanium in the watch world? Seems like more and more high-end brands are using it these days.
Yeah, and there's a good reason for that. Grade 5 titanium is incredibly strong and light, which is ideal for something you wear on your wrist every single day. It's also highly resistant to scratches and corrosion. And get this, it's hypoallergenic.
So it's like the best of both worlds, right? Durable enough for everyday wear, but still incredibly luxurious.
Exactly. And let's not forget that titanium has this really unique look. It's got this slightly darker, more industrial aesthetic compared to stainless steel, which can be really appealing to people who appreciate a more modern, more minimalist style.
It's like the difference between a bespoke tailored suit and a perfectly worn-in pair of jeans. Both stylish, but in completely different ways. And this watch, it isn't just about the titanium, is it? We can't forget to mention the tourbillon.
Okay, I will fully admit, I'm mesmerized by how tourbillons look, but I'm not entirely sure what they do. Can you break it down for me?
The tourbillon. It's often considered like the pinnacle of watchmaking artistry. Imagine this. A tiny rotating cage that houses the most delicate parts of the watch's movement. And it's constantly spinning, to counteract the effects of gravity.
Wait, so gravity affects a watch's accuracy? It can, yeah. Especially in pocket watches, which is what tourbillons were originally designed for. The idea is that by constantly rotating the escapement, which is the part of the movement that regulates the timekeeping, you're basically averaging out any errors that are caused by gravity pulling on those delicate components.
So it's like this miniature gravity-defying dance happening right there on the dial.
Yeah.
But are tourbillons and wristwatches more about tradition and aesthetics at this point?
That's a great question. While wristwatches aren't as affected by gravity as pocket watches, the tourbillon mechanism remains a testament to, well, to a horological skill and ingenuity. It's incredibly difficult to manufacture. It requires specialized tools and years of training. The presence of a tourbillon instantly elevates a watch to horologery status. It's a sign that no detail has been overlooked, no expense spared.
It's like the watchmaking equivalent of a Michelin star chef crafting a culinary masterpiece.
Yep.
Even if you don't understand all the technicalities, you just know it's something truly special. It really is, like a tiny mechanical ballet happening right there on your wrist. And it makes you think, right, we've talked about these two incredible watches, both Richard Miller's, both at the top of their game, but in such different ways.
Yeah.
But let's say, you're not about to go out and drop six figures on a timepiece. Why should any of this matter to you?
That's what I love about watches. Even if you're not a collector, they make you think. These watches, these other watches like them, they show us what's possible when humans really push the boundaries of design, of engineering, of craftsmanship. They're like these tiny windows into a whole world of precision and artistry.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. These watches, they aren't just about telling time, are they? They're about the stories they tell, the craftsmanship they embody, the passions they ignite. And speaking of passions, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that both of these Richard Mille watches, they were featured on Uncrate. Uncrate, that website. It's like this curated collection of the coolest, the most sought-after stuff on the planet. And it just makes you realize there's this whole community of people out there, and they appreciate these incredible objects just as much as we do, I think.
Totally. It's a reminder that even in this world of mass production, there's still a place for handcrafted excellence, for objects that are made to last, to be treasured, passed down.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. If these watches, these intricate machines, if they tell a story, what story does your everyday watch tell? Is it a story of practicality, durability, sentimentality? Maybe even a bit of aspiration. It's something to ponder next time you check the time. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of Richard Mille. Until next time.